veteran studio. This is Fantasy Mediocrity. Oh, welcome back, everybody. It is Fantasy Mediocrity Week 2 Fantasy NFL show. My God, mediocrity is a term that I picked kind of out of thin air because I said, listen, I'm no professional. I don't do this for a living. I do it for fun. I don't want anybody to think that I am going to give you some miraculous advice that's going to make you win your league or blah, 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 blah. Well, if there's anything that sums up week 1 for me, it is mediocre. All right? I was in 4 leagues to start off and 1 survivor pool. I am no longer in the survivor pool. Thank you, New England. I went out on a limb on that one, folks, so that really is on me. I tried a different strategy than last year. Last year, I went heavy right away with the guaranteed wins. Now, for those of you that picked Kansas City, thinking that was a guaranteed win, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I kind of switched it up because I thought, hey, I could have went with Denver. You think Denver's going to roll over the Titans. It's going to be fine. That was a closer game than I think most people had predicted. But that's okay. Listen, those things happen. I went with a different thing for my survivor pool and said, let me pick what I think is a win, but a team I probably wouldn't pick later on in the season. So I went with New England versus the Raiders, and we all know how that ended up. Also, New England's running back, Henderson, was my fantasy standout from last week for running backs. That didn't really pan either. I mean, he did okay, but nothing spectacular. New England had a pretty rough day. So that didn't really work out for me. And then in my fantasy leagues, I went one win, 3 losses. Yeah, that's where I was on that. 2 of the losses were pretty bad. 1 was pretty close. I left 20-something points on my bench because of a certain wide receiver down in Tampa Bay, Mbuku. He lit it up. I didn't realize he was going to do that, even though I thought Baker Mayfield was going to have a hell of a day. I thought Evans was going to eat up most of it. Mbuku had the game-winning touchdown down there and threw up, I forget how many points. It was like 28 points in my league, the way my league scores. And I left that on the bench. That would have been a win for me had I swapped him out. I started Calvin Ridley over because I thought Calvin Ridley was the main target there in Tennessee. And again, incorrect. Did not do well with that one. And I ended up losing that game. And that was my main league. That's my good money league and the one that, I strive for my championship and we have the trophy for and all of that. So a little disappointing, but learned a lot and we move forward. Listen, week 2 is upon us. We were back in action. We're going to go through the games. We're going to go through everything. Don't worry. For those of you that dealt with the Jamar Chase drama, dealt with all the wide receivers in Philadelphia, let's be honest, but definitely A.J. Brown not really producing, Drake London getting injured early, Malik Neighbors not doing so well, a lot of these guys just didn't have amazing days. There were some standouts, don't get me wrong. My boy Puka Nacua, I'll tell you what, the amount of times that, I have thought about passing on him in a draft. He was my keeper at one point before my league changed the rules with the keeper, and he's always done well. I've thought about passing on him in drafts. Luckily, I didn't have to make that decision this year. He never fell to me, so that happens. But I'd be kicking myself right now if I did pass on him, because he just looks like a stud, like usual, out there in LA, just catching balls and scoring points. So, what are you gonna do? Listen, here we are again. We'll go over some of last week's stuff, where people were and what kind of happened. We'll talk a little bit about this week, as what we think we can expect, maybe some bounce backs. We'll highlight some of our players that we think are going to perform for us. And again, take it with a grain of salt, because my picks from last week, not the greatest. Obviously, my running back didn't do too well. My best pick probably was my kicker, Cam Little. I pointed him out, and then also the Denver defense. Anybody who went with Denver's defense, even though their offense didn't look great, their defense was amazing, and they will be throughout the entire season. I think some of these defenses are really good this year, where some of these other ones, pretty surprising. The high-scoring game with Baltimore and the Bills, I thought the defensive would have played a little bit tighter. Both quarterbacks just had games, you know what I mean? Put up big points. So if you had either one of those guys, God bless you, because you probably won. Again, I think the Steelers' defense, I thought, was going to be a little better against the Jets. I almost would have went with that. Jets all of a sudden decided they know how to play offense. Fields looked great. Garrett Wilson looked great. I know he had a couple little missteps there at the end, but at the same time, we don't care about that in fantasy. It's not about who wins and loses the games. It's about the points they put up on the board. And Wilson did well for you if you had him in. So did Fields. If you took that gamble, I don't think anybody did, but if you did, you did pretty well, better than you probably thought. Geno Smith, again, who would have thought? In Vegas, Geno Smith. I thought he went there to kind of finish out his career and be dead and buried. Nope, still doing well. But listen, one thing I think we can take away from week one, and please, you can message me, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, but something that I believe is that our week one results show that a lot of these teams that don't take preseason too serious are slow to start. So our offenses are a little slow to start. Our defense timing isn't there. You can see some quarterbacks and their wide receivers are a little off. You know what I mean? We don't play our starters in preseason anymore. They don't get a lot of work, game speed. I know they're in, all the camps, the mini camps, the rookie camps, the practices, all the OTA, everything that's going on during the summer and leading up to the season. I know they're out there. I'm not saying they're not doing anything, but there is no replacement for game action. And as we see now, only with 3 preseason games for most of the teams, I think, if I remember correctly, there's the 2 teams that play in the Hall of Fame game get an extra preseason game. I forget if they minus 1 out. But either way, call it 3 games. And most of the time, it's your backups. It's the guys trying out for the team, really, and showing and trying to make the practice squads or trying to be, second string, third string, just make the roster, get on the field. They're out there, but your starters aren't. And the first time they see real game action against real defenses, real offenses, is week one. So the idea that these teams are bad, that like say Denver's offense, if you're convinced that Knicks isn't going to play well this year because of week one, if you don't think that offense is going to put up numbers moving forward, I think that's a misstep. I think we have to start treating week one as almost a tune-up. And when it applies to fantasy, that's dangerous because our week one counts. And if you're in a tight league, losing your first game, It kind of sucks, you know. First of all, you can be ridiculed and made fun of for every draft decision that you make. Week 1 is when you get made fun of for your draft decisions, okay? Because after that, we start picking up off the waiver wires and all this other fun stuff. And it kind of melds into the season. Week 1, we're still making fun of you for that draft. We're making fun of you every single time. So, here we are. We're back in it. We're trying to figure it out. We'll make adjustments. But I'm just saying that for maybe next year. Look at your week 1 a little different than you will the rest of the season, because that's something I'm taking away from this. This is very different. And I think it's only going to get worse because I could see preseason just completely going away and going right into the season. Maybe 1 game, 2 games. Maybe they'll keep it around just for the ratings because they can sell ads on the games on the weekends. It's possible. But these teams, these players, they don't want to play preseason anymore. They want to risk getting hurt, and they want to get right into the season. And I think if the NFL keeps adding games, which is the plan, I believe, they're going to take it away from the preseason. So your week 1 is now going to be your tune-up. You are going to have to treat it that way moving forward. So that's my little spiel of week 1. Didn't mean to bore anybody. I'd like to get into it right away because, again, like I said, I'm trying to keep these episodes pretty tight and short because you need information and we want to get right in to that so that you're not listening to this for 2 hours going, okay, whose defense do I start? All right, so we're going to get right into it. Our wide receiver rankings for week 2 aren't really changed from week 1, I'll be honest with you. Because, again, I think most of the professionals that do these rankings, ESPN, Yahoo, all of them, are in agreement that, hey, listen, you're still going to start A.J. Brown. Yeah, he dropped a little bit. I think he's ranked 9th now. But you're still starting A.J. Brown. You're not going to leave him on your bench. Okay, that would be crazy. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. All right, they were awful. Awful week 1. All right, it actually hurt. Anybody who had them, it's kind of tough. Because usually you're like, hey, I'm going to get 20 points out of those guys. Maybe not T. Higgins, but Jamar Chase, I mean, you're hoping for 20. And you didn't get it. He's still your number 1 on the rankings. And you're still starting him, so don't worry. Put him in, all right? Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb, he put up some points, okay? Because he seemed like he was really the only weapon Dallas had that was consistent. Had a lot of problems with dropping balls. He had a good 4 drops in that game that were, 1, at really bad times to drop the ball, costly, and 2, would have put up even more points. So that's what hurts for if you're a CeeDee Lamb owner, because every time you drop that ball, those are points. PPR, you're talking about 4 points right there, plus the yardage, plus 1 or 2 of them might have gone long distance or for touchdowns, and he dropped the ball. So do I say not start him? Obviously not. You're still going to start CeeDee Lamb, but I would definitely watch it because if those drops continue, Dak is going to start looking elsewhere because he's not going to trust him. As you remember, we're playing fantasy. We're worried about the points and stuff. They're playing real football. They're trying to win games. And if Dak doesn't have that comfort level with CeeDee catching that ball, his targets will drop as the season goes along. Again, not a worry for week 2. Put CeeDee Lamb in. You're fine. Garrett Wilson, same thing. A couple of the miscues at the end of the game there. I would watch it, but I don't think anybody's really that concerned about his performance. Malik Neighbors for the Giants. He's ranked 5th right now. He's got a questionable tag. I don't know how serious the injury is for him. Actually, I'll pull it up on Yahoo real quick. Let's just see where he falls. Malik Neighbors, what's the latest for him? Limited it on Wednesday's practice. So he practiced, but he got a limited. It's a back injury. He should be good to go. All right. And he only got 12 points. He had 5 receptions, but he had 12 targets. Again, I'd like to see those completions. They're still working things out for the Giants. Let's be honest, Wilson didn't play well. I think the countdown to Jackson Dart is started. The fans are already starting to want him out there. They want to see something new. They want to see some fresh blood. They want to see what the future is going to look like, and they would really love to see Dart throwing to Neighbors. We're just not there yet. I think you have to get it to probably at least week 4 before they make a switch. The newspapers up here were already calling for it, already saying, hey, let's see what happens, blah, blah, blah. Again, 12 targets, 5 receptions, not that great, but 5 receptions for 71 yards. I like that. That's pretty good. Anytime you're over 10 yards per catch, you got to be pretty happy with that. So look for him. He's projected for 17 in week 2. It seems like the back is going to be okay, so don't get too nervous. Everything will be fine, like I said. Nothing to really worry about there. Let's just get back over and see what is going on with the rest of these wide receivers. All right. Devontae Adams, you're good there. He's coming in at 11. Drake London would be my big worry. I know right now that they did not rule him out yet, but he was limited on Wednesday with that shoulder. He fell pretty hard on that shoulder. I don't know if anybody saw that play, but he landed pretty hard. He's a gamer, and everybody expects him to play because he's a gamer and he wants to be out there. Penix and him had a good vibe going. He had 8 receptions on 15 targets before getting injured. So they were starting to get a rhythm together. So if he plays, obviously he's in and you're starting him. You're not gonna bench Drake London. Just watch that injury. Keep looking for your updates on that one. Who else we got here? Jackson Smith and Jigma did well. Ricky Pearsall out in San Francisco. He's bumped way up. 1, playing New England. 2, Jennings has a questionable tag moving forward for this week. And it looks like he might actually miss. It's very possible that he actually does miss. If he does, Pearsall could really be in for a good workload. Kittle is on injured reserve. So now you don't have your number 1 tight end and really Purdy's security blanket. So he's going to be looking somewhere, and I think that's the reason that you're seeing Pierce so high in the ranking. He normally wouldn't be up there. But I think that's one to really take a look at. I think Calvin Ridley against the Rams, it's going to be a tough start for him. I might swap him out until I see that there's some chemistry there and that they can kind of work through some things down in Tennessee. Cam Ward didn't look great. It was kind of all over. But that game was dirty. It was a muddy game, kind of just, again, real preseason vibes on a game like that. So, kind of to be determined with Calvin Ridley. I know he's wide receiver 1. He's projected to get, maybe 16 points, but I'm not sold, especially after his week 1 performance. We'll see what happens there. Mike Evans is always up there. Jacoby Myers, always up there. Scary Terry down in Washington. Didn't have a great game. He did okay. But again, that was a weird game against the Giants. The Giants were never really in it, so it was kind of like, all right, whatever type thing. You're going to start him as well. Don't worry. As far as going outside the norms, and it's not even really outside the norms. It's just a guy I really think is going to do well. Is again Deebo Samuel in Washington. Since we're on that kind of Washington talk, had a great first game, and I think will continue to put up big points. All right, he's dual threat. He runs, catches. He does the gitch plays and all that kind of crap. They use him for everything, just like they did out in San Francisco. So they're right back at it with him. I'm going to lock that in as my wide receiver of the week for fantasy. It's going to be Debo. I just think everything's kind of lining up for him and Washington to do kind of big things. So again, you'll see the rankings haven't changed much. I think everybody agrees that week 1 is kind of all over the place. Ibuka, I'll be starting him this week. Okay, that was a mistake. I left him on the bench, 20-something points. He'll be out there. I don't even think that's a question. You're going to be starting your Marvin Harrison, your Mike Evans. But again, Debo against Green Bay, that's going to be my one right there. I think that's a definite. I think you're going to see running points. You're going to see, catches. You're going to see runs after the catch. He's a dynamic player that's going to just score you a boatload of points. I don't even remember what he got last week. He's projected for 15 this week. He had 26. He had 26 out of Deebo Samuels. Come on. That's awesome. So those are our wide receivers. Again, I made some mistakes. I'll be honest. Starting Ridley was a mistake. But we live and we learn, right? All right. Moving on to our running backs. Listen. First of all, I had Derrick Henry. God, what a monster. I mean, you watch that dude just come down, to go into the locker room. He is just a massive human being. And we always said that, it took him a few weeks, even into, week 6, because I've had him in the past on my fantasy teams, and he would do nothing. And then all of a sudden, he would be just this amazing fantasy freaking jackpot come week 6 or week 7. It was almost like picking somebody up new off the waiver wire, because then all of a sudden he's throwing up 20, 30 points just in time for playoffs, just in time for your championship run. Well, ever since he's gone over to Baltimore, now he's just he's insane. He starts day 1, 160-something yards with some catches out of the backfield. 20-something fantasy points, 28 fantasy points, 29 depending on your league. Just crazy. Christian McCaffrey, I know he scared a lot of people early in the week. I was one of them that I wasn't scared. I was just laughing my ass off at the guy who drafted him because I skipped McCaffrey. I had a chance to grab McCaffrey, and according to Yahoo's rankings, their ADP and all that, their XDP they call it because they had to come up with something new just to be fun, had him ranked above Henry. And I skipped and I went down and I took Henry. So I was kind of laughing because I was like, I made the right decision. He played. He's got a soft tissue injury. Watch it. Just watch it. He's fine. Week 2, he doesn't even have a tag right now. No injury tag, so he's good. But watch it. Those soft tissue injuries, especially for McCaffrey, have ruined people's fantasy seasons. So, obviously, take a look. ESPN has him ranked 1 playing against New Orleans. Not a surprise. New Orleans is awful. Okay? Just really bad. But do I think he's number 1? I wouldn't have him at number 1. I'd probably have him at number 3 behind Bijan and Henry. I would have him above Saquon just because Saquon's going to be playing Kansas City, and that game could get a little nasty. And depending on how it all goes, I think Bijan against Minnesota is a little bit of a better matchup, and Henry against Cleveland is a much better matchup, than Saquon. But again, Saquon's still going to throw up points, and you're still going to start him. Please don't think you're not. And if you are, you shouldn't be listening to this show. You should probably be talking to somebody, maybe psychiatrist, neuroscience, something. But you definitely need to have your head checked. Another big surprise. Not so much a surprise because I talked about this in the last show, and I picked him out personally, is HN. He did just phenomenal for me. I had him in my flex. And let me just pull it up what he got me last week. He's projected for 20 this week, and that's up. He got me 16 in the flex against Indy, which, listen, I didn't think that was going to happen, especially with the way Miami's playing. Miami's a bad team. They have serious problems. We didn't even get into it wide receiver wise because I don't trust their wide receivers right now because of their situation. They don't look like a cohesive unit right now. Waddle is injured. So watch that. He got in a limited practice today. So watch their situation there because Tyreek Hill might be a really good play if Waddle is out. But Ancient, he is just running. He is an animal, that kid. So that's another good one. He'll be in my lineup again this week. He didn't reach his projected last week, but again, with the way they played and that game just kind of falling apart for Miami, he outperformed. He outperformed what the game, not so much the projected, but what the game had there. He's got a little bit of a touch for defense in New England. Not that New England did well against Vegas, but I think they're going to bounce back with their defense. They're not in my top anymore because of what I've seen, and until they change my mind, that's where I am. But they're a competent defense, and I think they're still going to give Miami fits. And, divisional game, you know how that plays out. What else do we got here? Jamar Gibbs, middle of the road for a guy who was going super high in drafts. There was talk of taking him 1. He didn't go 1 in my league, but there's been talks of taking him 1. I think he only popped up like 15 points. It wasn't anything crazy. In my league, which is a PPR, yeah, he had exactly 15 points. 9 rushing attempts for 19 yards. The only thing he had going for him was he was 10 for 10 on receptions. Only had 31 yards. So again, nothing yard-wise. Detroit was in trouble from the get-go. Green Bay just had their number. I think everybody was surprised. I think it's one of the big surprises out of week 1 was how bad Detroit performed in that first game. Without the 10 receptions in a PPR league, if you're a standard league or even a half point per reception, that's not good. He obviously didn't reach his projection. He was projected at almost 18, only got 15. Again, hoping for a bounce back this week against Chicago. So, listen, Caleb Williams can't keep his offense on the field. I'm not sold on him. Just doesn't seem to have that winning mentality. Seems to just be out there. He's got the tools physically, but I think mentally he doesn't seem to lead that team as a quarterback. So I think Gibbs will be on the field a lot, and I think Detroit is going to look to make a huge statement. So St. Brown will be another good wide receiver, and Gibbs definitely as running back. He's got a chance to really do some big things and really bounce back and put up some big points against just a weak Chicago team. Josh Jacobs, hey, listen, he's out there. He's performing. What did he have? He had 14 points last week. 66 yards, but he got a touchdown. He's going to be very touchdown dependent out there in Green Bay. I'm very happy with the way Green Bay played against Detroit. They obviously outperformed what people thought, outperformed the spread, everything. But Josh Jacobs has the tools. He has the ability to explode every single week. But I think it'll be a little touchdown dependent there. Only had 1 target out of the backfield, so not great for PPR. It was 1 target. He caught it for 4 yards. Nothing crazy there. But he had a little trouble with the Detroit defense. Just breaking through for anything big. That's okay. Listen, he's got another tough task in Washington this week. So don't expect huge things just yet, but again, he'll be in your lineup. Saquon, like I said, he's going to be out there. Bijan, Genti. let's talk Genti for a second, all right? We didn't really talk too much about him last week. He's a rookie. His debut had 19 rushes for 38 yards. He had a touchdown, so it kind of salvaged it a little bit. He had 2 receptions for 2 yards. Nothing crazy. Patriots have a good front line, but not that great. I would have thought he would have done a little bit more. I expect Pete Carroll to kind of get him more involved and get him in the clear. I expect more from him. This week he has the Chargers again. Another good defense. They showed it week 1. Chargers defense is for real. Chargers are for real. Don't sleep on the Chargers for the number 1 seed in the AFC. They definitely could be there. I don't know. I mean, that's a huge call. But if they play like they did against Kansas City, you don't want to play them throughout the season. Definitely don't want to run into them in the playoffs. So, again, kid gloves with Gentry. Let's see what he does. He only got you 12 fantasy points. Nothing to write home about. Jonathan Taylor. Let me tell you, the Colts looked big. All right? And they did it without him throwing up huge numbers. Okay? He ended up with 71 yards. He had 3 receptions. He didn't get a lot of points, all right? But Indy looked good. So keep your eye on that. You're always starting Jonathan Taylor. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's going to do great things. This week is a tough one with Denver, so don't expect too much more than what you got last week against Miami. But you got Tennessee after that in week 3. Look for him in week 3 to kind of bounce back and really kind of hit the ground running. To get outside of things, Alvin Kamara, who's somebody like I said to you last week that New Orleans is just a bad team and it's going to be kind of hit and miss with everything. He ended up with 13 points, almost 14. He had 2 receptions out of the backfield. He did have a touchdown, which saved him. He had 11 runs for 45 yards. Nothing great there. Pull San Francisco week 2. Not sold that it's going to be a big week for Kamara. I think San Francisco is going to give New Orleans fits. So that's going to be a tough one. My big prediction, and this one I'm going out there. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one. But what I saw against Pittsburgh for Breece Hall, he just looked like a man on a mission. At 145 total yards from scrimmage. He had 107 rushing, 38 receiving on 2 catches. 2 catches. He was 4 times thrown to. He caught 2 of them for 38 yards. So he's moving that ball. 145 yards. He's a mainstay in the Jets offense, which all of a sudden under Fields looks like they can play football all of a sudden. Who knew? Been a Jets fan my whole life. Who knew? Right? So, going out on a limb, this is a big one. My start of the week against Buffalo. Was not impressed with Buffalo's defense. You saw that Baltimore was able to pretty much have their way with them for most of the game. If it wasn't for just an amazing comeback in the fourth quarter, Buffalo wasn't even a part of that game for most of it. They just decided to turn it on at the end and will themselves to a win. Don't take that away from them, but it wasn't their defense, okay? They did a good job of stopping them in the fourth quarter, but I'm not sold on them right now with that performance, and I think Breece Hall is going to run on them, okay? Run. So lock that in, start of the week for running back, Breece Hall. I know I'm going to get some shit for that one. That's a homer pick. But listen, every once in a while you got to have a homer pick. And I don't get to pick a Jet very often, all right? So you're going to have to fucking give me that one, all right? Up next, we're going to move right into tight ends, all right? I know there's other running backs. You don't want to listen to me drone on for 2 hours about running backs, okay? There's plenty of them out there. Do your research. Pick who you're going to pick. Top 15 to 20. After that, it tails off hard. Look at your matchups. See what they're going to be doing. If you're going to be coming from behind and all that, the running backs just aren't going to get the ball. They're going to be throwing. So make sure you look at your matchups on that one. Okay, so tight ends. Tough week for tight ends. Tough. A lot of injuries. Bowers is listed as questionable. Okay. He's awesome. I love Brock Bowers. Had 16 points, 8 targets, 5 receptions for 103 yards. He didn't have a TD. He's listed as day-to-day, so I expect him to play. It's against the Chargers. Again, Chargers really played well, and I think they're going to continue to play well. But let's be honest, Vegas could be coming from behind in this one, and Bowers is a big part of that offense, and he's definitely on the radar for Pete Carroll to get him involved in everything that's going on. Gino's going to be looking for him. He's cutting across the middle. It's, again, a safety blanket for him, especially if the Chargers can get some pressure on Gino as he drops back. So watch the injury. He's day-to-day. Make sure he's in. But I think big things this week from Bowers as well. Trey McBride out in Arizona. 12 points. Pretty good. Nothing crazy. He had 6 receptions. So pretty good for him. I think he'll kind of bounce back. He's got Carolina this week. We're going to circle back to that because I got some thoughts on McBride. Travis Kelce, listen, that was an ugly game. It just was an ugly game. He ended up with 12 points. He had 4 targets for 2 receptions. The touchdown is what saved him. All right. But he's going to be touchdown dependent on some of this. All right. If Worthy is out for any extended period of time, obviously Kelce's going to pick up some more receptions. That's good for anybody who has him. So again, watch the Worthy injury, and Kelce's going to be in your lineup because he's still a top 10 tight end. Definitely, without a doubt. Sam Laporta did okay. Again, Detroit had a weird game. He ended up with 13 last week. Nothing that great. Let's see. Who else were we looking at? Andrews. Good God. Just awful. Awful. And I thought with Little being out that they were going to lean on him a little more. He had 1 target, 1 reception for 5 yards. My God. Just not good. What else are you going to say? Just not good. Especially for an offense like Baltimore's that's throwing up points and you can't get involved in it. You're losing me on that one. Got it for Philly. He was involved a little bit. Nothing crazy. He had 11 points, but 7 receptions on 7 targets. That's bodes well for things to come. George Kittle. George Kittle. Injured reserve. So he's gone. I forget how many weeks. He's eligible to return back in what is it? He's going to be eligible, I think in November. Yeah, it's not great. It's just not great. But again, like I said, if you have Pearsall, you might want to look at him with Jennings injured and Kittle injured. They're not going to have much. It's going to be McCaffrey and Pearsall. So keep an eye on that situation. My waiver wire pickup for this week, because I had Andrews, was Juan Johnson. Okay. I also had Evan Ingram on another team, and he's injured. Now, he did okay. Ingram had 5 points before he got injured and then just died out. But if he can get back in, obviously, he's going to be a big part of Bo Nix's Denver offense. But because he's injured, and on my other team, I have Andrews, I picked up Juan Johnson from New Orleans. I'm telling you, that guy had a great game. He had 15 points, all right, 11 targets. So obviously, because that offense is kind of all over the place, he is kind of that steady hand in the middle of the field that they're throwing to. So I picked him up on 2 of my teams because of my injuries and just not performing at the tight end position. So he'll be getting started this week for me. But my big start for this week is going to be Trey McBride. All right? Start of the week for tight end, Trey McBride. And the reason that I'm going that way, more than anything, is playing Carolina. Carolina's awful. Awful, awful, awful. Just bad. And I think Arizona's just going to throw up points on them. Harrison Jr. too. Start Harrison Jr. too. But I think definitely McBride. And that's going to be my tight end start of the week. All right. Moving along, because let's be honest, you can only talk about tight ends for so long because there's not that many that are even worth discussing. You're not getting that many points out of them. We had some guys throw up 10 to 15. No real huge performances, no huge standouts. It is what it is. Up next, let's go over to our QB situation. My God. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, even Dak. Pretty good. Pretty good all around. Lamar had a great game. Threw up 33. Kind of feel bad for him. I really do. I think he thought he had that game. It just sucks, man. But he was 14 and 19. Had 209 yards, 2 TDs. He had a rushing touchdown. He had 6 rushing attempts and 70 yards. The guy's a workhorse, let's be honest. Jaden Daniels, he kind of, they were playing the Giants. So, 22 points. The game was never really close. They won 21-6. So there wasn't really much of a need there. We'll see what he does this week. They got Green Bay. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a game. It's the Thursday night game, so watch it, obviously, and make sure he's in your lineup because I think he's going to put up a lot more points this week. Josh Allen, God, what a stud. Just a stud. That comeback was insane. He ended up with 45 points. If you had him, you probably won. All right, 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 rushing attempts for 30 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So 4 total touchdowns there. Big numbers out of Josh Allen. It's what we expect. He is playing like a man who wants to win that Super Bowl for Buffalo. All right, I think he's tired of the comments that he's not a winner, that he can't finish, that he can't get past Kansas City in the playoffs, and blah, 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 blah. He played like a man on a mission in that fourth quarter. He willed that game to happen. Dak, I have him in one of my leagues. I thought he would have done better. He had 188 yards, no touchdowns. He had 1 rushing attempt. Just no. He had 21 completions, but God, 188 yards on 21 completions? That's bad. I don't know what to do in that situation. I might start looking other places. I thought, and I said it last week, I thought we were going to see some more out of Dak, just fantasy point-wise. Not wins, fantasy point-wise, but obviously I was wrong for week 1, and I think I'm going to be wrong in week 2 as far as what he does, because I just don't see it. They're playing the Giants, but it's divisional rivalry. Giants always get up for that game. I wouldn't put it past that they kind of hold him in check again. And if CeeDee Lamb keeps dropping balls, we're done. Jalen Hurts does what he does, all right? They got Kansas City this week. That's the Sunday 4 o'clock game. That's going to be a battle. You're talking, Super Bowl, the whole deal. They know each other. It's going to be a hard-fought game. Don't expect huge things from either side on that one because it could get ugly. Jared Goff, I started Jared Goff in one of my leagues. Again, I thought he was going to do great. I got 13 points. 225 yards, TD, and interception. 31 completions. His completion percentage was actually pretty good, 31 to 39, but only got 225 yards. Detroit had problems. Look for the bounce back against Chicago. I think he's going to be okay, and I think they're going to get in tune. So don't worry there. Geno Smith did really well. for Vegas. He ended up with 23 points. He was only projected to get 18, 362 yards. He had an interception, but listen, had 362 yards. Better than a lot of the guys that you drafted ahead of him, I'll tell you that much. Baker Mayfield, my buddy down there, he was my start of the week for quarterbacks. Threw up 28 points. Again, 3 TDs, only 167 yards. A little inefficient, but he threw up the TDs. That's the thing. He's a winner. Again, they won 23-20 because he wins. That's what he does. So keep looking for that. Got Houston this week. Again, I think he'll throw up big numbers in Houston. Justin Fields, we already talked about him a little bit. J.J. McCarthy played really well. Start of the week for this week, right here, because I'm floored by how this guy played. Justin Herbert, 36 points, almost 37, 36.92. 25 to 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 rushes for 32 yards to add on to it. My start of the week against Vegas this week. I think he's going to rip Vegas apart. Herbert, again, like I said, he looks like a man on a mission that wants to show that the Chargers are the number 1 team and the team to beat. All right? He is actually ranked 2nd right now as quarterbacks, according to Yahoo. So that is my start of the week, quarterback. Everybody else, listen, there's going to be some bounce backs. Bo Nix, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud. I was very impressed with Daniel Jones down in Indy. He didn't throw up like amazing numbers, but definitely impressive. Drake May in New England, I think he'll bounce back a little bit this week against Miami. Caleb Williams, I already said it, not sold. Matt Stafford does what Matt Stafford does. Joe Flacco out in Cleveland. It's kind of 45 pass attempts for Joe Flacco. I mean, he ended up with 17 points, which isn't anything great. 290 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. The leash is going to be short on Joe Flacco, but God, he's been around forever, and he's still throwing up 45 passes in a game. That's very interesting for Cleveland. And that was a close game against Cincinnati. A lot closer than I think anybody thought it was going to be. Again, going back to my week 1 being almost like a preseason game, Cincinnati did not look in tune. They have Baltimore this week. Now, Baltimore didn't stop Buffalo when they needed to. But we all know that Baltimore's defense is going to be fine. So don't take just week 1 as the tell-all there. So again, start of the week for quarterback, Justin Herbert, definitely with a bullet. You're gonna like that one. We're gonna pop over to defenses. We won't bore you too much because I think again, Baltimore is still projected to get you 10 points. I know they didn't do great for you. I think they had -3 last week. Don't worry. They're playing Cleveland. You're playing Joe Flacco. We just talked about that. Definitely Baltimore there. Los Angeles, Dallas against the Giants. That's a pretty good start. Dallas against the Giants is probably a pretty good start. I'm not convinced the Giants can do anything. Pittsburgh against Seattle, that's another good start. And San Francisco against New Orleans is going to be my start of the week. San Fran is going to have their way with New Orleans. Trust me, that one is almost a guarantee. If you need a backup for that one, I'd go Arizona versus the Carolina. Definitely. Denver's defense looked legit. I think their team just needs to come back a little bit. They might bring Indy and Daniel Jones back to earth pretty quick. And I think Detroit is going to look, again, to bounce back against Chicago. And it's perfect for them. They will bounce back against Chicago. Getting into kickers. Like I said, I picked a good one last week. Cam Little. He was, as good as advertised, coming off that giant, whatever it was, 70-yarder in preseason. Butker did good if you had him. But, Aubrey for Dallas against the Giants is going to be a pretty good pick. I think Bates for Detroit against Chicago, again, That is going to be a good one. But I am actually going to go, my start of the week for kickers is going to be McPherson against Jacksonville. I think you're going to see the offense out there in Cincinnati start to click. There's no way Joe Burrow is going to just take 1-point wins over these lowly teams like Jacksonville. I just don't see it continuing. So I think you're going to see a bounce back. He had 5 points. He only had one field goal. I think it was like a 30-something yarder, 35-yarder. But I think that was a little wake-up call. I think the offense will start to settle in. I think they'll start getting Jamar Chase involved and T. Higgins involved. And boom, all of a sudden McPherson's putting up some good points. He had 2, point afters. Okay, nothing great. So week 1 wasn't good. He's going to bounce back. Again, Evan McPherson for our start of the week for kickers. I think that pretty much wraps up all our picks and suggestions and kind of recap of week 1. Going into week 2, let's just pull up real quick our games and what we have to look forward to. All the fun. Okay, so our week 2 games. Let's see. You got Commanders and Packers is going to be your Thursday night game. So that's tomorrow. Make sure you're paying attention. Set your lineups. Don't forget. I know you guys have people on the Commanders and the Packers, so make sure you're paying attention to that. We got Giants-Cowboys, divisional rivalry. Watch that one. It could get messy. Who knows what might happen. Neither team really impresses me. Seahawks-Steelers, I think that's going to be a good game. Rams-Titans, I think the Rams are going to do what they have to do. Bills-Jets, I think it's going to be a lot closer than we thought. Listen, the Bills are going to be coming in hot. They're high off their obvious comeback win, but the Jets are going to want to try to prove something. They don't want to go down 0-2. They kind of lost a heartbreaker against the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers leading them at the end and the win and blah, blah, blah. So I think the Jets are going to try to kind of go all in and show that they can beat the division powerhouse, which is the Bills. So watch that one. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch. Patriots-Dolphins, divisional game. That could go kind of either way. Neither team really impresses me right now until the Patriots show that they can actually do something. I think they have the talent, but let's see. You got to win. Bengals-Jaguars, I think Bengals will just take care of business. 49ers-Saints, good God. Browns-Ravens, listen, divisional. They're always going to play tough. I think the Ravens should handle it, and they're pissed about what happened on Sunday night. So I kind of feel bad for the Browns because I think they're going to just beat them up. Lions-Bears. Lions are going to look to bounce back after the loss. Bears are not the team to stop them. Broncos-Colts. That's going to be a great game. If Indy plays like they played week 1, they can give the Broncos a run for their money, but I think the Broncos are going to settle into their offense. Their defense is just too good. I think Daniel Jones is going to have issues with a real defense like the Broncos. Panthers-Cardinals is just, but I think the Cardinals will take care of business. Eagles-Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch, great game, going to be a lot of fun. Sunday afternoon, be ready for that one. Falcons-Vikings, messy game. Who knows? Could go either way. Bucks-Texans, that's going to be a great game. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's the Monday night game. Falcons-Vikings is a Sunday night game. There's 2 Monday night games this week, so be careful. Watch that, especially with your injuries and stuff like that. So you have a lot of players playing on Monday that you're going to have to make decisions if they're injured. You got to pop people in. So watch those games and watch your injury reports as we get later in the week, Friday, and that final injury report, because if you got guys going on Monday that are injured, you might have to make a decision. You got Bucks, Texans, Chargers, Raiders on Monday. So a lot of fun, a lot of good games. The NFL, a lot of parity. Forget about week 1. Move forward. I know, not the greatest, okay? If you listen to me, well, listen, you're probably fucking stupid if you're listening to me every time. Make your own goddamn decisions. I don't know what to tell you. No, just kidding. We're doing the best we can. I'm trying to give you some advice and my take on things. as far as moving forward, we'll be on every week giving you info. You can follow us on Instagram, Fantasy Mediocrity. We're on TikTok, fantasy.mediocrity. If you want to send in show notes, anything like that, you got fantasymediocrity@gmail. I'll read it. I'll listen. Call me an asshole. Yell at me for messing up. Whatever. On the Instagram and the TikTok, I try to put out some funny stuff to make you laugh. And then some information throughout the week if I have any updates or anything like that. We also do Zuma picks, which is my dog. Zuma goes out there, makes the pick for each game. Against the spread last week, 10-6, so really good. Very good first week for her. So we'll keep doing that. Those videos will be up, and those picks will be up on Instagram and on TikTok, so you can see those. Sponsor-wise, we got blackoutcoffee.com. Use promo code Bulletproof for 10% off. Check out their coffee, their tea, their cocoa, all that stuff, all right? Another sponsor that we're super proud of is drinkbetterthanbooze.com. Again, promo code Bulletproof gets you 20% off. They are a, obviously, alcohol alternative. They have complete alcohol-free beverages. They have THC beverages, no sugar THC. They got different milligrams, everything like that. It is the only one that we have found that doesn't have that grassier flavor. They actually taste like cocktails. The martini tastes like a martini. The Paloma tastes like a Paloma. So I'm telling you, go check them out. Order up the variety pack. Get it shipped to you. I think if you spend over $75, ships for free. And with 20% off, that really helps you out. Please support them. That is a woman-owned small business. I think they have like 6 employees, but they're killing it. I'm telling you. Awesome stuff. So get over to drinkbetterthanbooze.com. Finally, we got jollygreen.oil.com. Got 10% off over there. CBD products. Also Mad Honey. Mad Honey's my favorite. I get drug tested, can't take all the THC and all that kind of stuff. So when I want to just relax a little bit, don't feel like having a beer, I will take Mad Honey. Really helps with my sleep. I find that I just sleep like a rock, go right to bed. Really shuts the brain off. If you're somebody like me who at night the brain just keeps kind of rattling on, the Mad Honey really helps me kind of settle in, kind of zone out, shut everything off, and get ready for bed. That's just my opinion. There's no science that backs that. But if you go over to jollygreen.oil.com, 10% off with the promo code Bulletproof. So, again, everybody down the line, all our partners, Blackout Coffee, Jolly Green Oil, and Better Than Booze, just use promo code Bulletproof at all of them. All right? Help out the show, help out the small businesses, people that are out there trying to make a difference and put out some good products. All right? That's all we got. We finished in just about an hour. Okay, went a little longer than I thought, but hey, listen. If I can talk, you can listen. For Fantasy Mediocrity, my name is Jason. Get out there and win your league.